Now we are in the central corridor of the Motor Speedway Museum. This looks quite a bit different because there used to be a skylight in here. It has been concealed. Of course, high concentrations of natural light is not the best for historic artifacts, but they were planning to add on to the immersion aspect by having a screen of the sky up there where they could have the jets fly through and fireworks and some other effects we saw in the showroom. That clearly did not happen, so it's just plain now. I am glad they kept the old terrazzo floors, and you can still make out where they used to have a fountain in the center of the museum. This museum reimagining cost over $60 million, and I'm impressed they actually completed and reopened on schedule. There is a lot more exhibition space now. It used to be that most of the displays were just in this one cramped room, but now they've added a second floor mezzanine above it, they have reutilized the space on this main floor, and they developed the basement for exhibit space. It's very exciting and it looks really good too. The lighting is well placed, and there's lots of immersive sounds of engines revving and whatnot. The one thing that has not changed is this car being the centerpiece of the museum. This is the Marmon Wasp, the first champion car of the Indy 500. This torpedo-shaped Marmon car, built by the Marmon Motor Company of Indianapolis, was driven to victory by Ray Harroun in the first Indy 500 on May 30th, 1911. Harroun was already an accomplished car builder and driver. He had set land speed records several years before. He had technically retired from racing, but Marmon convinced him to come back and get involved with his car for the big new race. The Wasp ran an average of 75 miles per hour during the grueling 500-mile race. The reason he is credited with winning is because he chose not to have an onboard mechanic like most drivers. Instead, he spruced the car up with an accessory of his own design, the rear view mirror. This is believed to be the first instance of a rear view mirror being used in racing, and was one of the first times it was used on an automobile. So this is a car that truly made history right here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Behind the Marmon Wasp is the coveted Borg-Warner trophy, the official trophy presented to the winners of the Indy 500. It was unveiled in 1936 by Eddie Rickenbacker. Every winner of the Indy 500 since 1936 has had their mini face added onto the trophy. It's so exciting to see this beautiful trophy spinning in the center of the room. It's a fantastic way to show it off. Here's a display on sculpting the faces. It starts with a clay model based on photographs. Then it's used to create a plaster version. Eventually, a jeweler transforms the face into sterling silver. The winners also get an elaborately decorated wreath placed on them. The Marmon Wasp is juxtaposed with the race car that won 100 years later in 2011, highlighting the tremendous evolution in race car design and technology since Ray Harroun's pioneering work. And here's the in-between car that won the 50th anniversary Indy 500 in 1961, the first of A.J. Hoyt's wins. This is another incredible car. The 1939 Boyle Special that was driven by Wilbur Shaw to victory in both 1939 and 1940. Shaw had ordered this Maserati for 1938, but the company sent him the wrong car. He did get a couple wins with this car once it arrived. The 1953 fuel injection special Curtis Craft was driven by Bill Vukovich 3 times. He lost in 1952 but won in both 53 and 54, before fatally crashing in 55. Underdog Jacques Villeneuve ended up winning in 1995 with this Players Reynard 951, after a series of incidents led him to the front of the pack when it mattered most. This is Jimmy Murphy's doozy. He won the Indy 500 in 1921 with this Indianapolis-built Duesenberg, then became the first American to win the European Grand Prix in France later that year with this very car. I like the way some of the cars are displayed in elevated wall spaces around the room. The Johnny Lightning Special here won in 1971. The 1932 Miller Hart Special won that year while setting a new speed record of 104 miles per hour. Mechanic George Sala was intrigued by the Cummins diesel car. I was surprised they don't have one of those on display here. But anyways, he adapted that design with an Offenhauser engine almost horizontally for a lower center of gravity in this car, which won in 1957 and 58. The legendary early race car designer Harry Miller dominated the 1928 race, with most of the cars having been his models. However, this one came out as top dog. This McLaren, with its newly legalized bolt-on rear wings, won in 1972, setting a race speed record of 162 miles per hour, which went unmatched for a dozen years. Al Unser won in 1978 with this car, even though he hit a tire in the pit box. Gordon Johncock won in 1982 with this Wildcat. He led by only 2 seconds in the last 3 laps against some serious competition like Mears, Foyt, and Andretti. This Ride-Lone Special Eagle was driven by Bobby Unser to victory in 1968, which was the first ever win with a turbocharged engine. The Indy 500 was becoming globally known in its first few years, so the French Delage company sent in this car for the 4th race in 1914, and it won. French manufacturers had the top 4 positions that year. The Domino's Pizza Hot One was the 1990 champion. Now let's head downstairs into the newly refurbished basement. There is plenty of new exhibit space down here, featuring lots of Indy cars and NASCARs. The loading area for track bus tours is also in the basement. For 78 years, the Indy 500 was the only annual race here, but that changed in 1994 when NASCAR came to the Indianapolis Speedway for the Brickyard 400. It ended up consistently having the largest spectator turnout for a NASCAR event back in the 2000s. Jeff Gordon won the first ever Brickyard 400 with the Chevrolet Lumina, with an average 131 miles per hour during the race. Dale Earnhardt won the second Brickyard 400 in the Chevrolet Monte Carlo. He averaged 155 miles per hour. A Hoosier, Tony Stewart of Columbus, Indiana, won the 2005 Brickyard 400. It was his first win at Indianapolis after several attempts in both the Brickyard 400 and Indy 500. The 2006 race proved dramatic, but it was won by the Chevrolet Monte Carlo. This Ford Fusion won the Brickyard in 2018. It was Team Penske's first Brickyard win. The Brickyard 400 did not return after the COVID pandemic until 2024, and it is happening again in July of 2025, so it's safe to assume it's back for good now. Welcome to the other Indianapolis 500 Winners Gallery. While just about all the cars upstairs in the main gallery were winners, there's a whole lot more down here. It's great that there's so much more space now to display the cars in their collection, because they own hundreds, including a majority of the champion cars from throughout the race's history. The 1996 Indy 500 was the first race under the new Indy Racing League, which imposed a new controversial qualifying rule, so many of the old teams boycotted that year, opening up an opportunity for Buddy Lazier in this car. I mentioned that ABC launched the first broadcast in 1986. Well, this was the car that viewers around the country and the world watched while glued to their television screens. In 1950, Johnny Parsons noticed what he thought was a crack in his engine block during the race, so he took a risk by going all out for the prize money, speeding way ahead of everyone in a do or die. It ended up being the first rain-shortened race, so he won. Following the recent screen-based Immersion National, they have developed an audiovisual experience with a curved floor-to-ceiling screen. The stripped-down performance-enhanced passenger car was built by co-founder Arthur Newby's company. This car had the largest engine to ever win the Indy 500. After the World War II hiatus, George Robson won the first race back in this car. This low-slung front-drive spark plug special won twice with driver Maury Rose in 1947 and 1948. This dirt car took the checkered flag in 1952 with driver Troy Ruttman at 22 years old. He remains the youngest Indy 500 winner. Bill Vukovich was favored to get his third win in 1955. However, he was killed in that race, so Bob Swikert won in this Curtis craft. A.J. Foyt secured his second Indy 500 win in the deadly 1964 race. It was the last time a front-engine car won. This car was victorious in 1941. Floyd Davis started, then pitted teammate Maury Rose took over partway through, so they are both credited as the winners. There is now a sizable designated special exhibition space where they're hoping to get major traveling exhibits. The first exhibition is called The Best of the Best, highlighting the 4 drivers in IndyCar history who beat the odds and won 4 different times. They have the cars and racing suits for all 4 of them on display. A.J. Foyt was the first driver to win the Indy 500 4 separate times, and he did it with this car in 1977. He and his team developed this victorious car themselves, and it was the last time an All-American car with an All-American built engine and chassis won. That was Foyt's vintage racing suit. There are Foyt's Baby Borg trophy plaques and his leather jacket for the 100 Mile Club. Big Al Unser drove this Cummins Holset Turbo Special March 86C to his 4th win in 1987, becoming the 2nd driver to join the club. He set a lot of records during his 3-decade career here. He still has the 2nd most laps led during Indy 500 races. The 87 win also made him the oldest ever winner at the age of 47. Here's one of Al Unser Sr.'s race suits and helmets. Unfortunately, the Unsers closed their racing museum in Albuquerque after his death. Here are just some of his numerous accolades. I do really like this L. Strauss & Company Winner's Clock trophy. It's very Indianapolis. The 3rd 4-time winner was Rick Mears, who joined on to Penske Racing in 1978. And he would drive this Marlboro PC20 to his 4th win in 1991. The most recent 4-time winner was Helio Castroneves, who won the Indy 500 on his first try in 2001 with this Dallara race car. He won again in 2002, and finished 2nd by a split second in 2003. Al Unser was a big supporter of Helio Castroneves throughout his career, and Rick Mears was a spotter for 3 of his 4 wins before he joined this exclusive club. He won his 4th 20 years after his first in 2021. This is the suit and helmet he wore in that race. Yes, these 4 did get their faces plastered onto the Borg-Warner trophy 4 times, but no one has made it to 5 wins yet. There's a nice new mezzanine area above the main gallery, where they displayed non-vehicular artifacts about the Speedway's history. So let's explore some more of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway story. Starting off with this display on the most recent Indy 500 winner after the museum reopened, Josef Newgarden, who won $440,000. Not bad. You do get a neat overhead view of the legendary cars below, and that twirling Borg-Warner trophy. This is the Wheeler-Shebler Trophy, created by Tiffany & Company for the Speedway's first ever automotive competition in 1909. However, that did not go well and the trophy was not awarded. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway was the brainchild of Carl Fisher, which he envisioned as a place where manufacturers could test their new designs and showcase their automotive products to the public. He enlisted fellow Indianapolis area industrialists James Allison, Arthur Newby, and Frank Wheeler onto the project, and here at the museum they have good information about all 4 of them. Fisher and Allison started a company called Presto Lights, which produced acetylene gas canisters for automobile headlights, one of the earliest forms of car headlights. They made a lot of money when they sold the company, which allowed them to build the Speedway. Carl Fisher also spearheaded the Lincoln Highway. The first transcontinental highway started in 1913, as well as the Dixie Highway, which connected paved roads from Michigan to Florida. At the southern end of the Dixie Highway, he developed Miami Beach too. When celebrity World War I flying ace Eddie Rickenbacker returned from the war, he stayed faithful to his true love, cars. Despite his company having just filed for bankruptcy, he bought the speedway in 1927, and over the next 18 years he introduced new safety measures like helmet requirements. From 1924 to 1936, the winner got to wear this crown. Now they get to drink milk. The milk thing has really become iconic, and it started with 1933 winner Louis Meyer posing after his win with a bottle of buttermilk. Dairy executives got involved after seeing the popular newsreel and got milk to be the primary prize, besides the enormous check. The speedway really did fall into disrepair during the World War II closure, and many expected it to be demolished, so Wilbur Shaw and Tony Holman coming in to revitalize it was a big deal. Tony Holman's grandson, Tony George, took the helm as speedway president from 1989 to 2009. After the Holmans owned it for 74 years, driver and team owner Roger Penske bought the speedway in 2020. He's had a long journey to becoming owner since he first visited the speedway as a teenager in 1951. The day before the Indy 500, there's a big Indy 500 parade downtown. That's a heavy-duty track fire rescue suit. It's still a risky business here. This is 2025 Indy 500 winner's Alex Palou's racing suit, next to a mini Astor Cup award. And here is the real Astor Cup, a storied trophy originating from an old 1916 race in Brooklyn, New York. Now the winners of the Indy 500 are presented with it. Here are some safety patrol uniforms from across the decades, along with an Indiana National Guard uniform from 1914. Here are some IndyCar-inspired toys. These are action-packed paintings of the Indy 500 races by Leroy Neiman, one of the most popular sports artists of the 20th century. This Art Deco-inspired trophy honors winners of the Brickyard 400. Here's the race suit of Kyle Larson, who won the 2024 return to the Brickyard 400. The United States Grand Prix was held at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the early 2000s for Formula One cars. There are still some F1 races in the US, just not here anymore. A midget racing track was built across the street from the speedway in 1946, and the USAC National Midget Race happens here nowadays. The first competitive event held here at the speedway wasn't an auto race. It was a hot air balloon race in 1909. Some balloons made it as far as Tennessee and Alabama in a bit over a day. The Wright brothers held the first ever licensed aviation event in the nation here at the speedway in 1910, and now air racing has returned over 100 years later with the Red Bull Air Race. And now we exit through the supersized gift shop. Yep, this definitely got an expansion too. So the new Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum is a perfect example of a museum renovation done right. As much as I like the old museum, this is undoubtedly a colossal improvement and a much better, more dynamic museum for 21st century audiences. But there's not less, there's more, which usually isn't the case these days. They display all sorts of artifacts they really didn't have the capacity to show before, as well as many more cars. So congrats to the Speedway Museum for a job well done. I would definitely recommend visiting this museum whether you're a racing fan or not. It's just a really good museum now. If you enjoyed this video tour, then please take a look at my other travel videos featuring museums, historic places, roadside attractions, national parks, and much more all around the United States and Europe. I did witness and record the first ever Weenie 500 Oscar Mayer Wienermobile race on Carb Day here at the Speedway in 2025, so that was fun. There's a video linked in the description. Also, please make sure to like this video. I'd also appreciate it if you could share it and subscribe to my channel as well. All of that helps out a ton. Thanks for watching.